up and asked me to speak up here. So it's funny how God works. But also God can, use us the most when we're uncomfortable, when we can step outside that comfort zone. So I was raised, a little bit different than the guys that have spoken before. I was raised in a divorce home. My parents split up when I was pretty young. Kind of moved from town to town. Not much stability, but it wasn't that we weren't, or my parents weren't believers. It was just there was no really solid foundation. And thankfully, my grandmother took me in like a vacation Bible school deal up in Frisco. And it was there that I kind of, found out who God was, but still didn't, receive him as my personal savior or anything. Just kind of knew who he was and knew, it was fun and, the cool little feelings that came along with it. And at the age 16, my buddy was headed to New Mexico to this bull riding school called Riding on Faith. And he asked me, he's like, hey, why don't you jump in and go with us? And I was like, okay. I had nothing against God. I prayed and stuff, but really never knew what it meant to be saved. And so I went out to this school, and it was exactly like this. The Holy Spirit just flooded the place, and it was so eye-opening to me that how these people were going up and speaking like I am. These people I looked up to, they had real-life problems like I went through, but they weren't doing it on their own. They were turning to God and giving it to God, and it made so much sense. So I ended up giving my life to God at that camp, and so anyways, it just because I got saved didn't mean that everything got easy. There were still struggles. There were still things going on in my life that were hard. And so turned 18, bought my PBR stuff, and started going to PBRs, and then made the World Finals. And so, God gave me a platform, and I ended up winning a Built for a Tough event, and, people would call me and be like, you're shining so bright for God. And I'd be like, I'm not even saying anything. There's like that light's just shining through you. And that was so eye-opening to me. I was like, man, it's God's using me, and I don't even know it. So all of a sudden, I'm at the top of my game. Everything's going. I got money. I got everything I need. And it's kind of like Peter, he stepped out of the boat into the ocean, and when he was keeping his eyes on Jesus, he could walk. And the waves, the storms, everything around him didn't faze him. But as soon as he took his eyes off God and started focusing on the things all around us, he started sinking. It was the same thing with me. My eyes were on God. And I had this huge platform that was glorifying him. My life was going exactly where God wanted it to go. But then I let I don't know if you'd call it pride, I don't know what you'd call it, but I let something else take over and became obsessed with money, cars, toys like dirt bikes and stuff, and women. And I would end up having a girl over, every night, a different girl, and living this life behind closed doors that I was this Christian out in public, and I was supposed to be glorifying God, but behind closed doors I'm doing things that I would never want anybody to know about. And so I feel like God, since I took my eyes off God and started putting them on the things around me of this world, I feel like God kind of took that platform from me. And so I end up 3 months later, I'm on tour and I get hurt, and I got off and I could barely even walk. I was like, what is going on? And never had hip problems before in my life. And I go to Tandy Freeman. He's our sports doctor on Monday morning. And he does MRIs, x-rays, all this stuff. And he's like, your hips, he said, there's multiple bone spurs. And it's pretty much bone on bone. There's no cartilage or anything left in there. And it's just grinding away. And, there's arthritis built up and all this stuff. And I was like, so what do I do? And he's like, you're going to have surgery. And he's like, you're going to need surgery on both hips, but we can't do it at the same time because we can't inject all this stuff in you and all this stuff. So anyways, I end up going and having the surgery, and it takes me out 2 years. I get it on one hip, and so during this 2 years, bull riding was all I knew. Bull riding was my purpose, I thought. And I kind of shared with the bull riding guys earlier this, and as soon as the bull riding was gone, I thought, well, okay, I guess I have no purpose anymore. What do I do now? And so 2 years, about a year and a half. Hello? Hello? Okay. Sorry, stage fright. But so anyways, a year and a half, 2 years later, I started working for this construction company. And the guy I go to work for, his name's Billy. And he tells me, he's like, hey, the guy you're going to be working with today is not a Christian. He cusses like a sailor, and I don't think you are really going to get along. Just try do your best. So I'm with this guy, and, for the first 5-10 minutes, this guy's just, mouthing everything, bad attitude. And I'm like, I don't want to be around this crap. And then 30 minutes, an hour later, this guy just opens up to me and pours his heart out to me and starts talking about Jesus. And I never said one word. Maybe it's the tattoos, I don't know. But this guy just totally, completely pours his heart to me and tells me, I've been wanting to give my life to Christ, but, I live in the hood, I'm on drugs, and, I don't really have any positive people around me. And so I just kind of shared what I was going through, and before I know it, 2 weeks later, that guy gave his life to Christ. And just kind of a backup on him is he just had a baby girl 2 weeks ago. And now he's married, got a little girl, living a faithful life, an obedient life to God. And so I'm over here thinking I don't have a purpose anymore because bull riding's gone. And all of a sudden I'm working for a construction company out in the heat in Texas, which is the last thing I want to be doing. And God used me through that and saved Jay. And so it made me realize, it doesn't matter if we're riding bulls or if we're, picking up trash, or if we're a janitor, if we're whatever you are for your career. The ultimate purpose in life is to make sure we're honoring and serving and glorifying God wherever we go, because it doesn't matter what platform it is, where you're at, whether it's school, whether it's home with your siblings. God's given each one of you a platform, and it's your opportunity to use that platform to glorify Him, because then when you're glorifying Him and living for Him and people see that, just like He's seen it in me and I don't even know how, then people give their life to Christ. And that's the ultimate goal in life, is for me, is to tell as many people about Jesus as I can. I'm not perfect or anything. I still make mistakes. But if I'm living as an obedient life as I can, and I'm being light to others and bringing others to Christ, that's more, for the kingdom of heaven. And that's where treasures are. Treasures aren't on this earth. This earth is going to pass away and everything on it. But if we keep our eyes focused on God, He can take us, so far. But I had a couple more things, but stage fright got to me, I forgot. But okay. Anyways, so but just like I was saying, just because you give your life to Christ, for you new believers, it's not going to get easy. That doesn't mean all the problems are gone. Be expecting it. For the last since last July, I've been really battling some stuff. I didn't really know if I wanted to talk about it or not, but I was married for 3 years. I had 2 adorable babies, and my wife ended up leaving me last July for but I never understood why. It was all the way up until 3-4 months ago, is why, God? Why do I deserve this? Why do my kids deserve this? I grew up in a divorce home, and I told them I always promised myself they never would. Now all of a sudden I'm doing the exact same thing I did, or they're going through the exact same thing I did. And, just like they were talking about with the stars and the planets, God's so much bigger than our problems. And it made me realize that just because I'm going through these little bitty things, it's not about me. It's about God and His purpose for my life and His plan for my life. And so regardless of what I'm going through, if I keep my faith in Him, my trust in Him, and my eyes on Him, I know He can carry me through whatever this world tries to throw at me, whatever the devil tries to throw at me, whatever attacks come at me. So, man, this camp, it's I can't even explain how big of a blessing it is to be able to come out here and see all these kids. And, I've kind of hung around some of the little ropers and stuff and read. And I don't think he liked me the first day. I kept picking on him, but now he's like my good friend, so it's all right. But, man, these kids, they're awesome. They got hearts for God. They got passion for their events. They got passion for others and love for others. And so just to be able to come here, be able to speak, be able to help, be able to do anything I can is life-changing for me. And like I was telling them, I get more out of this camp than they probably are, because this place is where it's at, and the Holy Spirit is definitely here. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate y'all having me.
Joe. I mean,